We were just talking about how she just got done interviewing me, and now I have the pleasure of interviewing her. Ursula Williams, how are you?
Doing pretty good, and you?
I'm fantastic. Now, you came all the way from the beautiful state of Arizona.
Yep.
You live in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do out in Phoenix?
So I'm a detention officer for one of the largest sheriff's office in the county, or basically in the country. And so I've been doing that for over 16 years now. And outside of that, which one thing I do all the things, but I'm a competitive shooter. So I do mostly 3-gun, which is going to be pistol, rifle, and shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
I also do USPSA, precision rifle. Pretty much if it has a trigger, I'm gonna shoot it and try to compete with it. So that's what I do.
You grew up, which is awesome. I've seen and read articles. Now you grew up in Detroit.
Yep.
Was there a lot of competitive shooting in Detroit?
There still is.
You want to talk about gang violence? And, yes.
So talk about Detroit. What was it like growing up in Detroit?
So gun-wise, there wasn't a lot of gun culture in your standard black household. It just wasn't one of those things that everybody talked about around dinner. Then pretty much I got around 16. That's when my family decided to move from Detroit to Arizona. So around that, still getting used to the area. And eventually when I got into law enforcement, that was when I got into guns. So I have a lot of friends who are white, and they're like, oh, I killed my first deer at like 6, 7 years old. I'm like, nah, man, my first gun experience was kind of illegal, but it was not at a deer. I'll tell you that right now.
What? But was Detroit? I mean, if you read, I've never been to Detroit. Mm-hmm. If you read articles and see pictures of Detroit, I mean, it looks like Beirut.
Yes.
Is that the media blowing things up, or is it really like that? What's it really like?
Detroit, growing up was really nice. So 80s baby. So pretty much it was really nice growing up, and then it kind of started to transform into, like, if you've seen the first RoboCop, it's pretty much what it kind of transformed into. Just a lot of just social economic problems. Mm-hmm. People moving out, houses burning down, neighborhoods are becoming more decrepit. It was just, pretty bad. It's horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't going up; it was going down.
Yeah. So it kind of started in the mid '90s when a lot of the auto industry started to kind of close there, and then here you go, you got just crappy little town there.
Yeah, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah,
that's when we stopped making things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so which was definitely not just horrible for Detroit, but horrible for the U.S.
And nobody can seem to understand that.
No.
They all think that has nothing to do with the demise, but it truly, truly does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, and I've been to Detroit multiple times. And you're right. I mean, there's areas of Detroit that you don't see that, but the majority of it, it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's
neighborhood that I grew up in, that's exactly what it looks like. Just
and when you
horrible.
go back, I bet you it's totally different.
Oh man. So I went back to. You can actually Google Map the neighborhood I grew up in, and it's completely unrecognizable.
Wow.
It's just that bad.
Yeah, it's trash now.
It's straight trash.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Absolutely trash. And doesn't seem like it's getting better anytime soon.
Yeah.
Once they start voting out a lot of the politicians, the ones the lifers,
right?
They start voting them out and actually putting some new blood in there that's actually going to help the city.
Yeah.
Then you're going to see some change.
Time
Until
will
then,
tell.
yeah.
Well, that's just it. I mean, we don't want to get political because that's not what the show's about. But you're absolutely right.
I get political all the time.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
You're bigger than I am.
So you moved to Arizona. What was it? Was it like a culture shock?
Full-blown culture shock. Like,
talk about.
Yeah, have you ever been that hot?
So the heat, that was a whole other thing. The way for me to experience culture is by food. So, like, in Detroit, I thought Mexican was like Taco Bell.
Absolutely.
Then I go to Phoenix. I was wrong. My whole life, I was wrong. Mexican food is not Taco Bell.
Yeah.
There's actual, like, real flavors.
And it's good.
Yeah, the food is awesome.
You don't know Mexican food until you get to the San Diego Mexican food.
I don't know.
Have you had the San Diego Mexican food?
Oh, man.
Everybody says we have the best carne asada burritos.
But one thing, I don't even eat meat, so that's another thing, too.
That's a problem.
It's a little bit of a problem, but when I first got down here, I ate everything. I'm like, what is this, cow tongue? I'll try it, whatever. There's sauce on it, whatever.
Actually,
I tried everything.
You're in luck. The carne asada burritos are delicious. I don't think there's an ounce of meat, so you should be.
There is, too. What are you talking about?
No, so before I gave up meat, I Still, by the way, still give out steakhouse recommendations. But down in Phoenix, like there's a couple of like, not so great neighborhoods, and those are the ones that have all the best tacos, the best enchiladas, the best churros, all that. I'm like, if you're willing to get there a little before sunset, hey, it's good.
Yeah.
So
Not dangerous.
Arizona, a lot of gun owners. So you moved
Yes.
to Arizona. You're 16. Gun ownership was a little bit different in Detroit. What was it like being 16 and like everybody's, had shot their first deer when they were, a kid,
Yeah.
and their people, I'm sure, were carrying guns openly. What was that like seeing that?
It was like, I'm trying to think, because I've seen a whole bunch of movies, but like my entire life, and so I kind of want to put it towards like almost Blazing Saddle-ish, which is actually one of my favorite movies. But that going from like the city to the western town, people open carrying, I'm like, oh, okay, cool,
Was it intimidating?
No, not at all.
Good.
Because it was like, what? I'm not doing anything wrong to get shot in the first place.
Yeah,
and he keeps his gun in the holster. Half the time they're all revolvers or 1911. It is what it is. But it was, I don't know. I was comfortable around it. I didn't question it. It was like, that's normal.
So now when you got into law enforcement, did that mindset change any?
No, because
Probably got better.
Yeah, it was like, oh, cool. He has a gun. He can protect himself.
All right.
Cool. All right.
Gotcha.
I can dig it.
No, I'm right there with you.
So what was the path to competitive shooting?
So, funny story. I ended up, one thing with my agency is that not everybody is issued a gun as soon as they get out or into the academy for the detention side. You actually have to apply like, hey, I want to become what we call weapon certified. So I became a weapon certified officer in 2010. And I was on a Glock 22, so 40 cal. So I wanted to become a better shooter on that. So I started doing like ladies' nights, started practicing, started doing all that type of stuff. And a guy I was dating at the time, he's like, hey, let's go check out a match at one of the local ranges. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go check it out. And it was a rifle match. It was like right as soon as Obama got in office. That's when I built my first AR. And it was a USPSA match, but with carbines, with rifles, with ARs. So I was like, this is kind of cool. Hold on, do they have this for pistol? And they're like, of course we do. It's on Thursday night. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I showed up on next Thursday night with my duty gear, my duty gun, and shot my first little, what we call a Thursday night steel match. And there I was hooked. So that evolved into shooting more USPSA stuff, and then got into multi-gun. And then there was a guy at the range, pro shooter at the time too. He's like, hey, you need to do 3-gun. And I'm like,
what's that?
That just, first of all, it sounds expensive. I'm a poor government employee here.
Yeah.
Like, that just sounds super expensive. He's all like, no, but you'll be really good at it. So I'm like, all right, let me think about it. So I start, YouTubing and Googling just all the things that's related to 3-gun. And I'm like, I know I'm not the only chick to actually want to go down this, competitive shooter path.
I think they prefer the term broads.
Broads.
So not chicks.
Broads.
We're trying to be politically correct here.
PC, yep.
Anyway, go ahead.
All complaints, that's 1-800-Michael Schwartz, 1-800-Michael Schwartz.
So I found a women's only match in New Mexico. It was under a Girl and a Gun. It was their 3GU, so 3-Gun University. So it was a real match, but they were like, we're training. I'm like, but they had a real prize table, trophies, whole nine. The whole thing was real. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. So I went back and told my buddy at the range. I was like, hey, look, I want to do this match in New Mexico. What I need to do. He's like, why'd you pick New Mexico? I'm like, I don't know anybody in New Mexico. So if I mess up, nobody knows who I am. So he's all like, okay, I get it. That works. So he trained me for about 2 months for this match. Because even though it was a training match, I'm like, if I'm driving to New Mexico anyways, I'm not driving for nothing.
I'm getting a trophy.
Yeah, I'm getting something, right? So he trained me up and shot this match, and I finished second in my division. First time ever.
Wow. Holy
So
cow.
you're totally hooked. You're hook, line, and sinker.
I was so hooked. I'm like, so every day of that match, we chatted on the phone with, his name was Mike, and pretty much he just mentored me the entire match. So at the end of the match, and I told him, how I finished and all that type of stuff, he was all like, all right, cool. Now we have to find you another one. Now you got to keep going. And I was already hooked, already looking for other matches, driving home from that one. Because that was like a 9-hour drive. I'm like, yo, what else is an area? What else can I, shoot?
And now you got to buy 2 more guns.
Yeah. So
See, that was the expensive
That was another
part.
thing too. I'm like, man. So Mike was actually really cool. He loaned me his shotgun, which was a Benelli M2 at the time. He loaned me that for my first couple of matches until I was able to afford Benelli M2. But his was like woodland camo. So when I called Benelli to make the order, I'm like, hey, I want, this woodland camo M2. Excuse me. And they're like, well, woodland's $100 more. I'm like, nope, it could be black then. Let's go with the black shotgun. I'm like, this is already way too expensive already. So
what do you use now? You use an M4, Benelli M4 now.
M2.
I'm sorry.
I
M2.
still have the same shotgun for 5 years ago.
Nice.
It runs. I actually just did a tune-up on it, so basically just swapped out all the springs.
And which do you use?
So I shoot for Staccato. So Staccato is actually STI.
You shoot for Staccato?
Yes.
Did somebody do really well to get a sponsorship? You weren't going to bring that part up?
I was getting there.
Yeah. I was waiting for you. You got to remember, I just did a racer radio show talking to little kids that race, so I know where that's going.
So we shoot pretty good. So STI actually changed their name to Staccato back in March.
Did they come to you, or did you go to them?
They actually came to me.
Oh.
That was pretty cool.
You go, girl.
I was like, this is cool. I like this.
You're
awesome.
handing me what?
I was like, what? Pretty much a race car in my hands. All
Oh,
right.
okay,
I can do this. Yeah.
You got a race gun.
Yeah. So this is amazing. So
wait a minute.
All right, hold that.
We got to hear what your AR is. Go ahead.
All right, folks. Hey, stay tuned. There, right after the break, we're talking with Orange County Gun Owner Board member who?
Trent
Butler.
All right, but to get us up to date on the special election and going on in Orange County, right here on FM 96.1, AM 1170. Because guess what? We got Ursula Williams in the house, and I got a sneaky feeling she's going to be calling in a little bit more from lovely Arizona.
I think so too.
She's awesome.
Ursula Williams, competitive shooter. We just found out sponsored competitive shooter. That's awesome.
Excuse me.
Okay, so you use a Benelli M2. You
M2.
use an STI, or what's their new name?
Staccato.
Okay. And what's your AR?
My AR. So I've been shooting for Troy for 4
That's
years. Actually, I have
sponsorships.
I have a lot of sponsors. There's a lot of awesome companies in the industry that I'm sponsored by, and
how long have you been shooting?
6 years.
Competitively?
6 years.
That's good, girl. I bet your car's got decals all over the side of it. Huh? Oh, that's racing.
You
Sorry.
don't do that.
No.
You can't do that.
My jersey.
Your jersey.
There you
That's
go.
great. I
Yep.
love it.
So,
That's amazing.
so I've been running Troy rifles. I actually was running Troy products before I even got sponsored by them. Vortex Optics, another company, Elfman triggers. I go really fast with their triggers. That's why I love them. And they're also local to me in Arizona. We Plead a Second, which is a holster. Actually, not just a holster. They're a gun customizing shop. So they do Cerakote, gun candy. They do Kydex work. Basically, anything and anything, they'll work on it. They'll do it. Tough Products was actually down in Chula Vista.
Nancy.
With Nancy. I've been with her for like ever. I've been trying to break her stuff, and I can't. Because that's one thing that a lot of people forget about with the whole being sponsors, that you're pretty much an R&D team. Your job is to try to break their stuff, because you're, as a competitive shooter, I'm going to put more rounds through all these guns. I'm going to do put a lot of miles on all these products. So if there's any issues that your normal gun owner, normal shooter is going to have, they're not going to reach most of those potential issues in probably in their lifetime. Whereas I shoot on average pre-COVID, I was looking at about a couple thousand rounds a month.
Wow.
Through
That's right
all
up
three
there with
platforms.
Joe.
Yeah.
Where's your sweatshirt? Where's your sweatshirt?
She's about 3 years ahead of me, so
okay.
I'll be there.
Well, you've got a goal now. We got to get you all decked out.
So tell us what you like about Troy. What made you pick Troy?
So Troy was a company that
from
came
the
to me.
very beginning, though. Now, don't give us the sales pitch. I want to. What did you really like when you picked them on your own before you were sponsored? Like, what did you really like about them?
So they came to me after those same women's match that I shot.
Yeah.
They asked me to come back and coach, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I was basically teaching a whole bunch of women how to compete, and all that cool stuff. And the marketing director at the time, she was there, and she's like, kind of want to check it out. Why do they sponsor this event and all that type of stuff? So, she met me. We started chatting, and she's like, I want to see you in a Troy jersey. You're really good with the girls. You're a great brand ambassador, and you like bourbon. So we're gonna be friends. So I'm like, I'm in. Yeah. I am absolutely in. But minus that, their products have always been amazing. So a lot of people know Troy for their handguards and their sights, but they do full builds. So I run pretty much all my rifles I run are theirs.
Now, typically in a 3-gun match, what kind of shots are you making with an AR? What range and what?
Everything from point blank out to 600-700 yards, depending on the match.
So what? So you said you run a Vortex optic,
right?
How do you prepare with an optic for all the way out to 600 yards and everything in between?
Science. So science is going to answer here. So pretty much to be a high level competitor, you're going to know everything about your gun, the ammo you run through it, the parts that you put in it, even your glass or optic. So like I know the velocity of my ammo. I know how fast it's going. I know what's the drop is going to be at, 100, 200, all the way up. So, and I also verify all that stuff here locally. And then when I go travel to those matches, usually in Texas that has a lot of the long range stuff, once I get there, I double check my velocity and I double check my zero to make sure that my data is going to be correct when I attempt those shots.
How do you check velocity?
So chronograph. So magneto speed is a good one. There's also lab radar, which is another one. So there's different options out there to check your velocity.
So, folks, you better be taking your math class seriously if you're going to be doing this.
I felt like that was Billy Madison. So when I started going back and doing math all over again, like,
what the
if
heck?
they would have told me, like,
if they told me,
like, hey, you're gonna be a competitive shooter, you might want to pay attention. I'm like, all right, cool. What are we doing? I would have totally got an A in math. Like, no, I got lied to.
So in a competition, when you come up to a stage, do they tell you, okay, this is 150 yards, or hey, this is 200 yards, or do you have to jump up there and estimate, or how does that work?
Most matches, they'll give you the written stage description. So they'll tell you, okay, cool, you're gonna do this, whatever. If there's long range on it, some matches they'll actually give you the distance, the ranges, but there's some that won't. They'll be like, oh, they'll point them out like it's over there. But most of us carry range finders anyways, because I like to double check other people's stuff as well. So if somebody's like, yo, that's at 150 yards, and it doesn't really look 150, I'm gonna double check. So I'll take my Vortex rangefinder,
and there it is.
And I will laze it from whatever my shooting position is gonna be at, and go back, look at my data. Cool. So I have my hold at that particular target or other targets.
Do you keep the same zero, or do you zero at different? If you're going to a different, like at this match, I'm going to zero at 100 yards. This match, I'm going to zero at 200.
No, my zero on all my guns, all my ARs for the most part, is going to be 50 yards. Except for AR-10, because that's like my DMR, my straight up long range. That's zeroed at 100. But all my other stuff is zeroed at 50.
No, why 50?
So 50 is one of those things where there's what's called 5200. It's technically like 218. No, my zero. If I'm dead on at 50 yards, I'm gonna be dead on at 200 yards. At 100 yards, I just got to hold the bottom of the target. For the most part, if it's a sealed target, I'm good. But anything beyond that, I'm like, okay, cool. I have to hold, depending on the velocity of my ammo. I know where my subtensions are on my reticle of where those holes are at. So
that's amazing. What is your reticle? Is it a crosshair, or you got a waffle, or what do you got?
So I like mills, much easier math for me.
Yeah.
Super easy math. Told you about that math thing. So it's pretty much not a crosshair, but it actually has subtensions. It actually have lines.
Yeah.
I actually took a class with Jacob Bynum over at Rifles Only. If y'all definitely get an opportunity to do it, take that class. And one thing he taught me was that your reticle is a ruler. So if you want to be precise, you're going to need more lines on that ruler. So that's why I like super busy, quote unquote, busy reticle. So anything like a horror style reticle, a Christmas tree,
that's my favorite, horror
all
reticles.
The lines. Yeah. I'm like, the more lines or subtensions, what they're called, the better. Therefore, I can be more precise. So that's why I run.
So you're shooting a couple thousand rounds, you said, a few thousand rounds a month.
That was pre-COVID.
And how many match? What do you do? A match? Or?
Major at the time, major match I was looking once a month. Major is like huge, like
regional,
national level matches, but local matches I was doing about 2 to 3 a month.
Man, that's a lot of time. So I mean, this just became your life then.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is
I
you're addicted.
I work this much, and when I go to work, because like I can't just get up and leave. I can't just get up and go shoot or do whatever I really want to do. That's my administrative time. So that's when I'm like booking flights, checking hotel, rental cars, talking to my buddies, the ones who stay up late at night. Like, hey, we're gonna share this rental car. Cool, I put it in my name. We do all my administrative stuff then. So therefore, I can spend all my other time outside of work, actually preparing for these matches, getting some sleep. Doing everything else I do.
What do you get out of it? You're extremely successful. It sounds like it's a ton of fun, but what's it do for you?
I like being able to show other people, period, regardless of what color you are, what you got between your legs, whatever, that you can go out and do this too. So that's one thing I love doing, because I get so many people from so many different backgrounds. Like, yeah, I saw you out there and I decided to try it too. I'm like, cool. I mean, it kind of sucked that it took you seeing somebody else to do it, because when I first started to compete, and I get this question a lot from other blacks, like, were there other black people out there? I'm like, no. Why do I have to wait for somebody else to do something that I think is interesting?
And what has color got to do with it anyway?
Some people,
I'm telling you.
The stuff that I get.
It's got it. But am I right?
Yeah.
Am I right? What
does the stories?
Or what does color have to do with anything? You, the person.
The person going out to do it. Yeah. There are some people that think that I'm good because I'm black. I'm like,
you were born with a Glock in your hand, right?
Apparently that's what it is. So, but
isn't that
I'm
something?
Like, don't negate all the stuff that I've done and all the work that I put in. I'm like, if there's anything, I'm darker just because of how much time I spend in the sun shooting and practicing in Arizona.
Yeah, in Arizona.
So how has it been being on the circuit, going to different competitions, going to different gun practicing, being a black woman?
How is it?
How's it been?
How's the acceptance?
Has
Any
it been
problem?
difficult?
Because nobody cares. Nobody cares what color you are. They just care if you're safe and you can shoot.
There you go.
That's it. That is absolutely it.
The world could learn a lot from you. I'm serious as a heart attack. I mean, they really, really, really could. Because if I say it, or Melissa says it, or Joe says it, yeah, you're right. But you walk the walk and you're talking the talk. And I think that's huge. You could be inspirational to so many. Have you ever thought about being a speaker?
Usually I get thrown into those spots. So,
geez, I wonder why. Is that natural thing?
I got thrown into speaking at the Phoenix, Arizona, their 2A rally a couple weeks ago. Got thrown in that with a 5-minute notice. They're like, hey, go talk. I'm like,
go talk.
Like, what? Okay. Jeez.
It was easy, though, wasn't it?
It actually kind of was. I took some notes like I normally do for a podcast. Yeah. Kind of stuck with my notes. And
what'd you talk about?
Basically the need to actually, for people there to take everything a step further.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I particularly don't care about at a lot of the rallies was people in full kit. I'm like, look, I don't care. Look, this is not the 2A fashion show. I don't care about that. What I need you to do is actually set up meetings, email, phone, like call your representative, let them know how important this is. That's what you do. I don't know what kind of kit you're running. And I even brought up, like, some of y'all running kit, some of y'all are running Amazon specials, but I need y'all to take it a step further.
That's right. Some of you need to lose a little weight and get out of that kit we're talking about.
Hey,
all right.
Hey,
I wasn't talking to you, you hubcap you.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.